So next to move is silver. I think in 2025, silver will hit $70 to $150. So silver moves next, and third comes the miners. So that's the sequence. Gold moves first. When the American public finds out their money is trash, then people say, well, maybe we should buy silver because it's cheaper. It's like 10 times cheaper than gold. And then come the miners. One of the focuses today, one of the reasons I invest in real estate is I develop the cash flow so I can buy gold and silver. And the reason I do that is, as you notice, the gap between rich and poor is getting wider and wider. And one of the causes of this gap is because our governments have too much debt. And instead of paying off the debt, like the Federal Reserve Bank, the Treasury, and our government, they print money instead of pay off the debt. So it's a bit like a family, you're not making enough money. So you keep buying, you keep getting new credit cards. It doesn't work. So America is in serious trouble right now because America is now the biggest debtor nation in world history.
Gold just hit an all-time high above $4,350 an ounce. And even after the pullback, it's still trading around $4,195 today. Silver is holding firm at $53.21, its strongest level in more than 4 decades. For most investors, this feels like a surprise. But for Robert Kiyosaki, it's exactly what he's been warning about for 50 years. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad author has said the same thing again and again. The system isn't broken. It's built to make you poor. Since 1965, when the U.S. removed silver from its coins, and 1971, when Nixon ended the gold standard, our money stopped being real. It became debt, created by governments, multiplied by banks, and devalued through inflation. Kiyosaki doesn't save cash. He buys real assets, real estate for income, and gold and silver for protection. He says the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. And in November 2025, that truth is playing out live. The dollar is weakening, central banks are hoarding metal, and the BRICS alliance is trading through gold-linked settlement systems that bypass the U.S. currency. The age of fake money is ending, exactly as he predicted.
For the real estate guys cruise, which I highly recommend, the 10-day cruise is fabulous event. They're focusing a lot on gold and silver. And I became a silver bug back in 1965. I was 17 years old. I hold up this quarter, 1965. It was copper. I said, wait a minute. It's supposed to be silver. No, it's copper. And I didn't know that at the time, but that was Gresham's law. It's a law called Gresham's law in business, in money, monetary systems. Gresham's law states when fake money comes or bad money comes into a system, good money goes into hiding. So the reason 1965 was such an important year was that was the year the United States started printing fake silver. Then in 1971, President Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard and we started printing fake money. So today, what the U.S. dollar is and all fiat currencies, I call them fake currencies, cash is trash, they're fake, they're not real. And they just print it. Now, this is what happens when you print money. When you print money, guys like me get richer because assets go up. So when you print money, I own gold and silver and it goes up. But if you're a saver, if you save dollars, your wealth's going down. So that's why in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it said savers are losers. So since 1965, I said, I better find out how the U.S. government is screwing us. And then I found out the more I studied, this has been going on forever. I mean, every time an empire prints fake money, China did it, Germany did it, Romans did it, they print money, the economy collapses. So America is right there today. This is June 2025. We're about to collapse right now because they printed too much fake money. It causes the rich to get richer and the poor, the middle class, to get poor. So that's why we have that, there's rioting all across the United States right now with no kings and all this other stuff because the poor are getting poor because money is like water. If you poison the water, everybody gets sick. So what's happening in America and all over the world, the yen, the euro, the peso and all that, our money is sick. It's killing people. But our schools don't teach you that. The schools are complicit because when you print money, that is Marxist. They print money and they set interest rates. Every time they raise interest rates, it makes it harder to buy a house. So they drop the interest rates. When you drop the interest rates to zero, then the poor and middle class get wiped out. And our schools do not. It's very simple. When you print fake money, people get sick. But our schools don't teach it because most school teachers are Marxists. They don't know the difference. So the Federal Reserve Bank is Marxist. So that's a long way of saying it. In 1965, I'm looking at this quarter going, something's wrong here. And I didn't know it, but it was Gresham's law. Then in 71, I'm flying in as a pilot for the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And my rich dad wrote me a letter and he says, hey, watch out. Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. I said, what does that mean? I didn't know what that means. I don't teach it at school. He says the world's going to change. So what happened in 1971 was the end of the American Empire, just like the end of the Roman Empire, the end of the German Empire, end of the British Empire, the end of the Chinese Empire. So when they printed money, so I said, oh, I better do something. This was 71. So what I did instead, I said, I think I'll become a gold miner. And I went looking for gold. And I found a gold mine in Dalian, China. This is in 2002. And I took it public with our team, on the Toronto Stock Exchange. We took the company public in China. We put $27 million into it, and we struck the richest vein of gold in China's history. And we, for a brief moment in time, I was a billionaire. I was very, very happy. We took by this mine, we took it public, had all these people, I had all these shares of stock. And then one day, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, called and said, thank you very much. We're taking your mine. I went, what? That's communism. They can take what they want. So they took my mine. So, oh, no, they can't. They do that. I learned a very important lesson about gold and silver. See, gold and silver you can find in different parts of the world. But you don't want a gold and silver mine in China or any communist country, because if you strike it rich, they'll take it from you. So I got this phone call, my gold mine. The Chinese today, since June 2025, the Chinese are bragging. So we're producing a lot of gold. I said, yes, from my mine, crooks. I'm not against the Chinese people, against the Chinese government. They took my mine. They said, guess what? So this is 2004. They said, guess what? I said, what? If you give me $1 million, I'll get your mine back. And so it was $1 million or $1 billion. I gave it the million. It might be $1 billion. But then my friend said to me, he says, the moment you pay a crook, you pay forever. They'll never stop stealing from you. Never do business where the rule of law is not respected. It's called country risk. So I don't do gold mines in countries or silver mines in countries where they do not respect the rule of law. And that's China or Russia. I stay out of it. I'd rather stay in America or Japan, Australia, New Zealand. But when the countries do not respect the law, don't do business there. So they kept calling and said, just for $1 million, we'll get your money back. And I was tempted, because I'd be a billionaire. And I said, no, because once you start paying a crook, you pay them forever. That was a priceless lesson. So the next thing I did is I found a silver mine in Argentina. And we took that and we call it Corriente. And we're developing this mine, but the price of silver kept going down. I said, why is the price of silver going down? Because I found out the banks, JP Morgan, was suppressing the price of silver. Now you can check this out. JP Morgan was fined $1 billion for manipulating the price of silver. They want to keep it suppressed because silver is industrial metal, strategic metal. Every Tomahawk rocket has about 4 pounds of silver in it. So they want to keep the price low. So JP Morgan was suppressing the price. They got fined $1 billion. But guess what? They're still in charge of suppressing the prices. That's the banking industry. So JP Morgan said, so I can't control silver. That's communism.
To grasp what's happening, look at the pattern every empire has followed. Sound money builds trust. Easy credit builds bubbles. Too much debt destroys confidence. Collapse resets the system. Rome did it by debasing silver. Germany did it with printing presses. And today, America's doing it digitally, creating trillions out of nothing. When Kiyosaki calls the dollar fake, he means it literally. It's backed only by trust, not by tangible value, and that trust is fading fast. Right now, November 2025 data shows it clearly. Gold broke above $4,350, setting a historic record, and even after cooling sits around $4,195 today, a sign of sustained repricing, not a spike. Silver trades near $53.21, driven by tight supply and soaring industrial use. Central banks have bought over 1,200 tons of gold this year, a modern era record. COMEX reserves are draining fast. Physical delivery demand keeps climbing. BRICS countries are transacting with gold-backed digital currencies, sidestepping the dollar. Foreign buyers are cutting U.S. Treasury purchases and adding bullion. Instead, Kiyosaki explains it this way. We're not in a gold bull market. We're in the collapse of fake money. What's happening isn't speculation. It's the great repricing, a global reset where real assets rise because paper assets lose credibility. Silver, he says, is the next domino. It's both a monetary metal and an industrial one, critical for solar, AI, and energy tech. For decades, banks suppressed its price through paper contracts. Now the physical market is too tight to control. That's why he believes silver could still run to $75 to $100 once industrial and monetary demand collide. But the lesson is bigger than metals. Kiyosaki ties this directly to real estate, the third pillar of wealth. Speculative markets are weakening, but income-producing assets, rentals, logistics facilities, farmland, remain strong because they create cash flow while fiat money loses value. He always says, cash flow is freedom. He doesn't buy property to flip. He buys assets that pay him every month. He learned that lesson the hard way. In China, he found a massive gold vein, then lost it when the Communist Party took it. In Argentina, his silver mine was destroyed by currency controls and bank manipulation. Those failures taught him one rule: never invest where the rule of law doesn't exist. That's why he now sticks to jurisdictions like the US, Japan, and Australia, places where contracts and ownership still mean something. In the coming era, he believes trust itself will be the new currency. According to Kiyosaki, this reset unfolds in three waves. Gold moves first as faith in fiat collapses. Silver follows as industrial and monetary demand merge. Real estate and resource assets reprice last, the foundation for the next economic cycle. Gold's break to $4,350 was the signal. Its ability to hold around $4,195 confirms the trend. This isn't gold rising, it's the dollar falling. And once the public understands that, paper wealth won't look safe again.
So we had a little mine in Argentina, and we sold it to Yamana, a Canadian gold company. They took it. They're fighting the crooks today and stuff like this. So that's how I learned about how they suppress prices in the game and all this stuff. But it cost me a silver mine. And only today, so June 2025, is the silver starting to go up because they can't suppress it any longer. They've suppressed it for 50 years, kept the price down. So finally, third time's a charm, we found a gold mine in Utah, Mormon country. And my friends, I work a lot out of Vancouver, British Columbia, where the mining companies are. And we found this gold mine in Utah. It was built around 1880. And what we did is we found all these logs from the old miners, with the little burros and, before cell phones, before TV. These guys with their picks and all this. But they kept really good records. So we took all their log books. The guys in Vancouver did it for me. They ran AI on all the net data. They took the whole thing and ran AI across all these books. And they went, oh my God. The report came back. Those miners back 100-something years ago, they missed the main vein. They didn't know they missed the vein. They had found a small vein, but not the main vein. So when we found that main vein, then again went back to, this time went to the New York Stock Exchange. And the goal of every entrepreneur is to take a company public. If you don't take a company public, you're really not an entrepreneur. You're a small businessman. So we listed the company on the New York Stock Exchange. Kenny McElroy rang the bell in New York and all this. And that gold mine today is one of the richest gold mines in the world. But the good news is in Utah, not China. And it's gold, and it's got the taking off. Then people say, well, gold miners don't make money. That's because they don't know the sequence. Because we printed so much money, people don't trust the dollar or the yen or the euro or the peso anymore. So the price of gold is finally starting to move up. So the price of gold moves first. So this is June 2025. Gold today is about $3,900. Today, silver is about $35. So next to move is silver. I think in 2025, silver will get $70 to $150. So silver moves next, and third comes the miners. So that's the sequence. Gold moves first. When the American public finds out their money is trash, then people say, well, maybe we should buy silver because it's cheaper. It's like 10 times cheaper than gold. And then come the miners. So that's what it takes.
Robert Kiyosaki has spent his life repeating one truth. Every empire ends when it forgets what real money is. He's not spreading fear. He's teaching financial reality. Understand how money works. Understand that inflation is a silent tax. And protect your future with assets that can't be printed or controlled. Gold and silver are insurance against currency collapse. Real estate is cash flow and independence. And together, they form the core of real freedom. So here's the question that matters today, November 12, 2025. When the next financial reset hits, will you be holding paper or something real? If you found this helpful, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the Macro Edge community, where we decode the truth behind money and markets before it becomes mainstream. Drop your thoughts below. Which do you trust most right now? Gold, silver, or real estate?